Hi everyone, Guy from Midwinter Minis here, and I thought I'd cap off the last year with a fun little retrospective, looking back at the, let's just say, mixed bag that was 2020, show you what I got up to, how much I painted, how the channel did, and I'll also give you an idea of what I'll be working on in 2021. I've got quite a lot to show you, so let's just get going. Before I pull out all the models I painted last year, let's take a quick look at some stats. For those of you who don't know, 2020 is when I decided to quit my job and do Midwinter Minis full time. So from March, I was able to spend much more time making more ambitious videos while still keeping the roughly 4 videos a month schedule. So between May 2018 and the last day of 2019, the channel had amassed 37,000 subscribers and a total of 1,600,000 views. And during 2020 alone, the channel gained almost 150,000 subscribers and received over 13 million views. That totally blows my mind. I still don't quite believe the stats when I look at them, but the weirdest thing is that my videos were watched for 1.5 million hours. That's over 170 years of time. Twice as long as I'd hoped to live, realistically. Anyway, before we get too existential, the channel's little family of active supporters on Patreon also grew from about 100 members at the end of last year to over 1,100 now. This is totally mind-boggling, and on top of allowing me to carry on making cool hobby videos for you all to watch, they're letting me take on literally the biggest Warhammer challenge there is. More on that later though. Let's take a look at what I painted in 2020. Welcome to the dining room at Midwinter Minis HQ here, very professional setup. By the way, this is how I set up my table for battle reports using the old school 6 by 4 size. The secret is 6mm thick MDF sheets. You can often find them in hardware stores, pre-cut in 4 by 2 sections, or 120 by 60 centimeters, whatever. They cost just about a tenner, way less than getting a fancy fold-out gaming table. You'll need 3 of them, and then treat yourself to a neoprene gaming mat. This is the Gotham mat from Deep Cut Studios, just in case you're wondering. Chuck it on, and voila! Easy 6 by 4 gaming table that you can pack up and hide behind a door or under your bed when you're not using it. It's pretty sturdy too, easily enough for gaming terrain and models. Okay, let's go back in time to the halcyon days of January 2020, and I kicked off my busiest ever Warhammer year by painting one model. Yep, just this one little Tyranid Termagant, an experiment using nail art flakes to make easy iridescent effects. A pretty chill January. February must have been way busier though, right? No, actually I didn't paint anything. Apart from a few touch-ups so models look nicer in battle reports, I didn't paint any full models. I also had my hands full putting together Death by Dice Volume 1, the first Midwinter Minis album featuring the very talented Sebastian Kling, choir giant Ollie Turbot, and myself, link in the description please and thank you. In March, my last month of trying to balance 2 very time-consuming jobs at once, I managed to actually paint some models on my Warhammer model painting channel, and they were also the biggest I'd ever painted too. First, the dark and dingy corrupted Imperial Knight. Also, the first and only time on the channel I tried 3D printing. £300 well spent. Not content with just one giant model, I also painted the Orc Stomper, which I think is the biggest Games Workshop plastic kit. Correct me if I'm wrong though. I'm really happy with the way it turned out, but the building process was one of my worst Warhammer experiences ever. The instruction book, honestly. Doing this slightly made up for going through all that pain though. 3 months in and only 3 models painted, pretty inauspicious start, but in April I decided to do a little stock take of all my unpainted models to see what I had to work with for future videos. And yeah, I had quite a few. The first dent that I made in that pile of shame was to paint 10 of the 90s Gretchen models from the Warhammer 40k 2nd edition box set using Coat d'Arms paint to get those authentic vintage colours. 10 models is good, but I needed more. I set myself a challenge for May to see how much I could paint in 1 week. I spent between 10 and 12 hours a day for 7 days straight, finishing all of my unpainted Orc models, 220 in total. I also challenged my viewers to paint as much as they could too, and I was totally blown away by how much you all painted. By the way, I'm obviously starting to fly through these painting projects, but I'll put a full list of them in the video description so you can watch any that you might have missed or wanted to check out. I also painted my first terrain pieces of the year in May, scratch building these modular Orc fortifications from sprues and a cereal box. 10 terrain pieces and 220 Orcs bring the total for 2020 to 243 models. After that pretty mammoth undertaking in May, you might be thinking I took it easy in June. Well, not exactly. For my first collaboration of 2020, alongside Miniac and Goobertown Hobbies, I stayed up for as long as I could in a non-stop painting session. I managed just over 25 hours, and I got all of my unpainted Chaos Space Marines battle ready following my own Bringers of Decay tutorial from 2019. About 2,000 points painted, 86 models in total. That wasn't it for June though. I also painted up this super rare Zote, a Warhammer 40k model from the late 80s in a suitably retro paint style, as well as painting the bulk of the Craftworld Start Collecting box with a mix of dry brushing and pearlescent nail flakes again. Quite a few cool techniques bundled into one video on this one. I think this is one of my favourites of the year looking back. So that's 94 models in June, so halfway through the year and we're already sitting at 337 models and terrain pieces painted. Only a few more and I can kick back and relax, safe in the knowledge that I averaged a model a day, huh? Not quite. July was a heavy terrain month. I showed you how to make and paint concrete wall terrain for wargames. Most of the materials were free, junk or super cheap craft paint. I tallied up the total for the materials, and to make all 18 sections of this wall, it cost just £2.20, about $3. In my second collaboration of the year, I went head to head with Black Magic Craft to make wargame terrain from water pistols, and I totally cheated, and I used other stuff too, so I lost the challenge, but I had great fun, and ended up with this awesome arena backdrop for the Deathmatch Battle Report series that I'd planned for later in the year. It was a huge undertaking. Penny joined in with the building and painting, and even though it's a massive piece of wargame terrain, and it took a full week to make and paint,
that still only counts as one!
Luckily, I also painted a few minis in July to bump up the numbers, painting 5 of these Space Hulk Gene Stealers in different easy styles, each only taking between 15 and 40 minutes. And if you're looking for inspiration for batch painting Tyranids, you should totally check out that video, even if it's just for the quick, easy alien xenomorph scheme. 19 terrain pieces and 5 models brings the total up to 361. Come August, I painted up a small Necron force from the Indomitus box to show you how to make an army of flayed ones, but I can't put them on the table because I ran a giveaway and they got shipped off to the other side of the world. I also got hold of an as-new sealed Citadel paint set from the mid-90s and painted up both of the models inside following the instructions in the box. This was also the first time in the 2-year-old channel's history that I'd painted a Loyalist Space Marine. I followed that up with another Ultramarine, this time a modern Primaris Space Marine painted in the modern colour scheme, but showing you how you can get really nice results with just 1 hour per model. Another 13 models added to the total, that's 374. In September, I only painted a couple of models, both Goliaths from Necromunda, one 90s model painted in the period style, and another from the latest version painted in the Grimdark style, challenging myself to do both in just 1 hour each. In October, I painted 19 models and took part in another 2 awesome collaborations. The first was with Dana Howell, where I tried to match her vibrant paint style on all 14 of the Khorne demons in the Start Collecting box. Alongside my nieces, I also painted up a single Admech Skitarii model for my video on making and painting your first Warhammer model. The last model I painted in October was the modern Zote from Blackstone Fortress, a nice contrast to the model 30 years its senior I painted earlier in the year. Behind the scenes, I also made and painted the floor and sides of the arena that I used in the Start Collecting Deathmatch Battle Reports, the first episode of which came out in October, where I faced off against my biggest hobby hero of all time, Dave from Mini Wargaming. Still though, 1 floor and 2 sides only counts as 3, so that brings 2020's total to 395 models. As you've seen, I obviously lean towards painting a lot of things pretty quickly, but in November I switched things up a little bit and challenged myself to paint a single model as well as I could. I ended up spending 25 hours painting this single Farseer model. Remember, that was the same amount of time I spent with all of my Chaos Space Marines. At the end of it, I asked my friend Travarian, one of the most highly awarded miniature painters in the world, to judge my model as if it was a competition piece. And as if I hadn't painted enough Chaos Space Marine models this year, I also covered all of the models in the penultimate episode of my speed painting Blackstone Fortress series, painting the 3 Plague Marines and the 6 Poxwalkers. That's 10 models in total for November, taking me to 405. To finish off the year, and to appropriately celebrate Nurgle's hand in shaping 2020, in December I painted up 10 Plague Bearers and a Herald of Nurgle, but added a twist by doing some easy milliput sculpting and using eyeball cabochons to ramp up the growth factor. So that's 416 models and terrain pieces painted in 2020, with pretty much every single one filmed for your entertainment. To say I've had loads of fun doing this would be a bit of an understatement. It's been amazing sharing my hobby with you all. Everything I've shown you here has been painting, but there's been loads more. Battle reports, unboxings, stupid quizzes, and loads of general tips and tricks. I've spoken to loads of really awesome people along the way, replied to over 10,000 comments in 2020, made some great friends, worked with some of my heroes, and what more is there to do? To be honest, I'm just going to carry on having fun. I don't like to plan too far ahead, but I do have some vague plans for things I'd like to cover in 2021. The biggest of all being the Mars Pattern Warlord Titan. The biggest, most expensive Warhammer model there is. We hit 1,000 patrons, and as promised, it was ordered, it's here, it's arrived, and we'll be doing an unboxing soon. Prepping, building, and painting it will be a huge project, but I'm really looking forward to it. I'm also going to be doing the final episode of my Blackstone Fortress series, and once it's complete, I'm going to look into the possibility of setting up a charity raffle for someone to win the whole collection, so watch out for that. I'm also going to be carrying on with the Start Collecting Deathmatch series. We managed to get the first 2 games out of the way before we were plunged into another mandatory lockdown. Hopefully that'll be relaxed soon and we can start making battle reports again. And getting ready for when I can make those videos, I'll obviously be painting most of the Start Collecting box sets. I've got a very cool plan for the Imperial Guard set, so watch out for that. I'm obviously going to be carrying on with my retro painting series, covering the rest of the models in the 2nd edition box set, as well as some cool rarities I've picked up throughout the year. I've got plenty more DIY terrain ideas to show you, more fun quizzes and cool collaborations on the horizon, but I'd also like to branch out into other things beside 40k, maybe focus on Necromunda a bit more, maybe dive into Age of Sigmar, or maybe, just maybe, something that isn't made by Games Workshop. I'll also definitely be covering some of the goodies that fans of the channel sent me too. In December, my girlfriend Penny set me up a little advent calendar, and some of our Patreon supporters sent us some seriously awesome stuff, and snacks. So many snacks. I thought it would be cool to paint these in live streams on the days I opened them in December, but man, so many of these things are either incredibly intricate, stupidly rare, or one of a kind that it would be a bit of a disservice, I think. I'll definitely make a proper feature of all of these cool things over the year. Thank you so much for getting involved, supporting, or just watching the channel this year. I hope my videos have maybe helped you get motivated to paint, get a few games in, or maybe just calmed you down in a pretty hectic year. Each video, I like to give a shout out to the channel's newest Patreon supporters, and I'll leave you with some nice shots of my favourite models that I painted this year while I do that. Mooty55 Mooty, Simon Kirk, Nat, Frankie, Gregoire Monga, Callus Paint and Play, Maciej Zadvorny, Mark the Weird Boy, Robert Skinner, Brandon Loney, Levi Rabb, Francis O'Brien, Jonathan Canandrius, Talis Benassi, Rai Ruiz, Lawrence Bostock, Zachary Gidding, Fizz Jr., Paul Tonner, Christopher Woodrick, Cosmit, Oscar Livog, SN Battle Reports, Radish Cat, Stephen Jedinak, Adam Quinlan, Blue Jay, Rich Holsworth, Michael Silas, PA, Garviel Loken, Angus Ross, Douglas Hammond, Simon Slater, Casey Scott, Moddy, Jack Borton, Jordan Caver, Lauren Hook, Kirk Stabinski, David Dahlberg, Chris Almich, Richard Skinner, Benjamin Bashur, Corentin Bernat, The Drain, Guillermo Gomez-Zara, Dead Gamer, Terry May, Grant Lancaster, Courtney Sylvester, Blameless Fish, Travis Caterer, Jonah Engel, Nylon Ape, Boris Michev, David Hanish, Simon Key, Ian Wallace, Robert Clicks, Christian Larson, Gerard Fredette, MZ, Jux, Kyle Kapelin, Ben Hillier, and must construct additional minis. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.